The movie that made you love a monster.
What a glorious feeling! I'm happy again. I'm dancing and singing.
Singing in the Rain is supposed to be joyful. Beethoven is supposed to elevate the soul. But in A Clockwork Orange, they become weapons. They make you flinch, twisted into something thrilling, disturbing, seductive. This isn't a film about violence. It's a test of how much violence you will forgive if it's dressed in art. Picasso said, art is the lie that enables us to realize the truth. Reinforces the idea that Kubrick's beautiful brutality is a crafted illusion meant to expose deeper truths about us. So let's begin. With a stare, glass of milk, and a language you've never quite heard before.
There was me, that is Alex, and my three droogs, that is Pete, Georgie, and Dim.
We start in the pit. No arc, no fall, just Alex's stare. Chin down, eyes up, already broken, already terrified. You don't know this boy, but you've already fallen into his world. You've seen it before in his films. And Kubrick's stare means collapse, madness, the moment before the monster steps forward. But here, no background, no backstory, no reason to care. Just style, clean, precise, and cold. Kubrick doesn't introduce you to Alex. He confronts you with him when Alex speaks.
Oh! Oh! Thou globby bottle of cheap, stinking chip oil!
And half the words they use in the film is just like that. It's just gibberish.
Put away real horror show. We were all feeling a bit shagged and fagged and fashed.
Viddy well, little brother. Viddy well.
It's called Natsat. It's just a made-up language. It's just a twisted mix between Russian and English. This made-up language was created by the author of the book, Anthony Burgess. But his idea of why he created that is not just like a confusion. He created that to be, as he said, an emotional camouflage.
But if I say in English, well, he is indulging in promiscuous osculation. You've brought in a comic element. You're aware that there is that duality in the language, and by playing off one against the other. When I first wrote the book, this was in the period of the Teddy Boys and the Mods and Rockers. I wrote it in the kind of slang that was being used by young people in the early 1960s. Indeed, in the year 1960, 22 years ago. But then I realized that nothing dates more quickly than slang. Slang goes out of date in a few months, and the book would take a year to publish. So I scrapped this first version and visualized a group of youths who would be using a language made partly out of Russian and partly out of English. And so I invented the language that was used in A Clockwork Orange.
It makes Alex sound clever, and it makes you feel clever. Just keeping up. And that is the first trick. This is theatrical hypnosis. The Kurova milk bar glows with white vinyl, as if someone tried to design a nightmare, but made it too beautiful. Jon Alcott, the cinematographer, called it theatrical realism. But let's be honest, this isn't realism. It's seduction. Beethoven's Ninth was never meant to sound like this. Not triumphant, not tragic, just tempting. Alex doesn't grunt like a thug. He speaks in rhythms, in rhyme. It's just like Shakespeare. If Shakespeare had a baseball bat. And there is the most dangerous kind. Cause charm, wrapped in rhythms. It slips past your defenses. Makes space for the knife. And the irony of it, Kubrick didn't like it at first. It was too much, too dense, too strange. But after a while, he figured that this is why it works. Then, a homeless man, but the camera doesn't flinch. It floats, and in the background, classical music swelling like a symphony. It's not brutality, it's ballet. And Kubrick doesn't make you look away, he makes you want to keep watching. And you did, didn't you? You didn't recoil, you admired the frame. Kubrick doesn't moralize, he stylizes. He strips out the grim of real-world violence and replaces it with geometric precision, perfect composition, and operatic rhythm. This is not a world of ethics, it's a world of aesthetic, and that's more dangerous.
Liberal papers were furious because they had been made to care about the central character, who was a rapist and who was a murderer.
So there was this sort of atmosphere that there was something evil about this film. It's touching a chord with people. It's saying, this could be true.
You have to be cured.
Because your brain doesn't process cruelty in a vacuum, it processes form. Here's the trick your brain plays. When Alex tilts his head, you lean in. When the grins before the kill, your neurons spark. It's not because you're cruel, it's because you're wired to mirror. Mirror neurons fire not just when you act, but when you watch. It's how empathy works. It's how children learn. It's how cinema crawls under your skin. So when Alex speaks in that Nadsat slang, it struts like a glam icon. Even if your conscious mind resists, your nervous system applauds. Malcolm McDowell noticed this. I would have people come up and say, I loved Alex, he's such a rogue. And I would think, did you not watch the same film? He expected horror. He got adoration. And in 1971, the UK press warned the copycat crime. A gang beat a homeless man while caught in Nadsat.
This would sharpen you up and make you ready for a bit of the old ultra-violence.
It's just not true. I don't believe it. And I got the same rap on natural-born killers. There was apparently at least 50-some murders that were attributed to the movie because people would be arrested and they'd say, I saw a movie that made me do it.
He didn't like being blamed for every bad moment in society as a result of Clockwork Orange. It was shocking. And as it increased and got more and more critical, all sorts of groups started to write us hate mail. We were overwhelmed, totally.
Kubrick pulled the film from circulation himself, but in America, box office hit. Kubrick said, there are a few things more fundamentally encouraging and stimulating than seeing someone else die. Was he being ironic or just honest? The quote is a trap.
Kubrick, above all, keeps the audience at arm's length. The fact that Kubrick slows down and speeds up the image, these kind of aesthetic tricks are going on, distance you from the violence. It turns it into a kind of aesthetic. It's like a ballet, the relationship with the music, the movements.
The great achievement of Kubrick is that he shows us what we are, what it is to be human, by showing us what it is to be inhuman.
We're taking it to a level of satirical style that's not meant to be gory. That's not what it's meant to be.
Then comes the cure. Alec is stripped into a chair, eyes clammed up, and he screams as Beethoven, his holy ecstasy, is weaponized against him.
It's not fair. I should feel all I hear. Lovely, man.
This is the state's violence now.
You're not cured yet, boy.
But look closely. Your sympathy isn't for the victims. It's for the image, the loss of the cinematic elegance, the mourn of the frame, not the bodies in it. And Kubrick knows this. This raises the central question. Maybe once evil becomes beautiful, it can never be punished. Nietzsche's warned about staring into the abyss, but Kubrick hands you a mirror instead. Guy Debord in The Society of the Spectacle claimed that representation had replaced reality. And here, representations defends Alex. At the end, Alex smiles again. He's been cured of his cure. His swagger returns, the lighting warms. Beethoven plays, and part of you, the same part that flinched when he was strapped down, exhales. The villain has returned, the performance can continue, the loop closes. He's evil again. And now at last the frame forgives him. But it doesn't just forgive him, it forgives you. The state tried to control Alex with violence. Kubrick controlled you with beauty. Only one method worked. A leather boat crushes the body, but a perfect tracking shot bypasses. the soul.
You had that smile on your face. You realized what he was doing. He was having fun with it. Should he do it realistically? That's his call. He could have done the film realistically. It would have been as equally powerful, I think, but probably not as talked about or remembered. I'd seen rapes in Vietnam, and they looked nothing like that, but they were fascinating because there were dances, and he had the ability to choreograph it.
There's kind of ballet elements to so many of the scenes that in any other context you'd think, how shocking. But Kubrick kind of makes it funny, and I don't think he's ever been more playful. Now returning to Kubrick's quote.
Now we're back to where we were. Yes?
There are few things more fundamentally encouraging and stimulating than seeing someone else die. You thought it's about Alex, didn't you? It's about your pleasure. About the part of you that watched horror framed like art and felt joy. This isn't a film about monster. It's a film about how easy it is to love one.
An area of the human soul is illuminated by a film like A Clockwork Orange. There is that in all of us, that wish, the wish to raise the knife and plunge it, to take up the axe and smash it. We all have that urge somewhere in us. And every time we see a film like this, we think of ourselves, say, well, thank heaven we didn't do that.
This was never about Alex, because the moment he stops being the source of violence, he becomes a subject of reform. Alex is no longer a predator, he's a patient, a number, a thing to be corrected. This is when the film turns cold, because now we enter the machine.
The question was, if someone was a criminal, how far had the state a right to go in punishing them?
The system doesn't kill you, it reformats you, and that's the genius of Kubrick's pivot. He shows you two forms of horror: personal violence, chaotic, gleeful, seductive, and institutional violence, slow, silent, procedural. The most terrifying force in the film isn't Alex. It is the state in white lab coats, the church.
I say, like yourselves, scream in endless and unendurable agony.
The prison, three arms of power, all claiming moral authority. None offering freedom. They don't want Alex to repent. They want him to comply. They don't want justice. They want order. And Kubrick captures it all in unblinking frames.
He will be your true Christian.
Just a sterile tick of bureaucracy reformatting the soul.
It's confronting the notion of the individual and the institution, which is really the question of not only the 20th century, but of this century that we've just embarked upon.
Goodness comes from within. Goodness is chosen. When a man cannot choose, he ceases to be a man.
The priest isn't defending Alex, he is defending choice, the right to sin, the possibility of soul. But the system doesn't care about soul, it cares about stability. It's a demonstration of procedural dehumanization. And we forget, this wasn't Kubrick's story, it was Berg's, a Catholic, formalist, a believer in sin and salvation. Bergs wrote a final chapter, one where Alex grows up, dreams of a child, walks away from violence not because he's forced, but because he chooses. Kubrick cuts it, called it dishonest. He said Alex would never change, but that wasn't just a narrative choice, it was a moral one. Kubrick rejected the idea that growth could be authentic. He replaced maturity with relativism, evolution with entropy. Bergs offered a soul, Kubrick offered the loop.
A Clockwork Orange, to me, is like an old friend. It's extraordinary that every generation finds this film and calls it their own. I know when I die, it'll be Malcolm Clockwork Orange McDowell passed away. But what an incredible piece of work to go down with.
Across 2001, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, Eyes Wide Shut, one pattern repeats. Institutions, rituals, and technologies that erase identity. The military, AI, psychiatry, politics. Kubrick doesn't make moral films, he made structural film. Alex is a rehabilitated, yes, but not into a moral being. He becomes functionally useful. You are a credit to the government. That line is chilling. Not because it's ironic, but because it's sincere. The system has succeeded, not in saving Alex, but in co-opting him. The system doesn't change you, it reprints you. But the final act, Alex is doing exactly what he did in the beginning. It's now subversive, it's authorized. The system didn't eliminate his urges, it gave him a stage, put a camera on him, shook his hand, laughed along. The monster has become a mascot, and we didn't flinch. We applaud.
I was cured, all right. It's really up to the viewer or the reader to get whatever they want out of it. And that's the beauty of it, that it is so complex. But at the time the movie came out, particularly in England, no one quite knows where its heart is. Yeah, where are we? Where is Kubrick in this? What is he actually saying? Is he just having a good time, or is he actually trying to say something? I remember those debates very clearly.
Nietzsche once said, "He who fights the monster should look to it that he himself does not become a monster." In A Clockwork Orange, you are asked to fight the monster and you fail. So, why did you love Alex? Because Kubrick made it impossible not to. He engineered a story where your empathy gets hijacked, where aesthetic overrides ethics, where transgression becomes exhilarating. But here's the trap. You didn't just love Alex, you envied him. His freedom, his rebellion, his immunity to shame. Deep down, Kubrick knew most people don't fear becoming victims. They fear becoming powerless. That's what Alex offers, the illusion of total power, and that's what makes him seductive. Not because he's evil, but because he gets away with it for a while. And then you realize, maybe the real horror isn't Alex at all. Maybe it's you.
It's funny how the colors of the real world only seem really real when you video them on a screen. It's no good sitting there in hope, my little brothers. I won't say a single solitary syllable unless I have my lawyer here. I know the law, you bastards.
Genius? No. Michelangelo's a genius. John Ford, Stanley, I think what stops him from being a genius, for me, is this lack of humanity. It's this withdrawing, this brilliant, extraordinary, yes, I mean, one of the greats, yes, all that. But I think at the end of the day, they say, well, what was he like as a man? What was he like as a human being? I think that's probably the test that he doesn't do well at.